What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. We have some more news to talk to you about regarding the Brooklyn Nets star Kevin Durant and the Toronto Raptors. And the latest rumors in the last several days, we've been hearing more and more chatter about the Raptors being the team that is very likely to land Kevin Durant. We've seen the odds go up, but we get some more news this morning talking about how the Raptors have made a massive offer to the Brooklyn Nets, including Scottie Barnes. So for today's video, I'm going to break all of that down, as well as the Raptors being interested in Deandre, as well as a very cryptic tweet by Gary Trent Jr.'s friend, best friend, and roommate yet once again. So if you're ready to watch this video, guys, make sure to hit the like button. It does help get this video out a lot more. Let's try to get this video to 200 likes. And if you want to hit the subscribe button as well, that'd be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and for today's video we have two shout outs. So the first shout out goes out to Todd Stevens. So Todd, thank you so much for supporting this channel, to your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. And the second shout out goes out to Mr. Bro, who just joined the Naughty Gang. So Mr. Bro and Todd, I do appreciate both of you guys. Your support is very much appreciated. Now let's get into that article that was broken down this morning. But before we do that, I want to quickly highlight the fact that, again, we get some more cryptic tweets by Gary Trent Jr.'s roommate and best friend, tweeting this out yesterday at nearly 7 p.m. saying Woj just behind schedule with a sand time clock, whatever that is, ticking almost. It seems like there may be something. I can't tell if Jordan is honestly trolling at this point just to get attention, or maybe he's onto something. Maybe Gary Trent Jr. knows something that he could potentially be moved to Brooklyn. Obviously, we saw the cryptic tweet in last video as well, where he tweeted out something about a suitcase, Statue of Liberty, New York. So again, I don't know what's going on. We can assume whatever these tweets mean, but it's still weird for him given the timing of everything. But let's talk about that report, which talked about the Raptors making a big offer. Now I'm going to start with where it says NBA insider Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, who, by the way, I've never heard of, but off Bally Sports, said that the Nets and Toronto Raptors have been in talks about a potential trade surrounding the 2022 NBA Rookie of the Year, Scottie Barnes. I do know that the Nets and the Toronto Raptors have had some level of interest in this whole ordeal, the insider said during his appearance on Mad Dog Radio. And then he obviously goes to talk about how he spoke to someone via text yesterday that said that the Raptors are interested in a massive package for Kevin Durant, which would include Scottie Barnes for unprotected first-round picks included in that offer. Now, again, I don't know who Scoop B. Robinson is. I've never heard of them. You could maybe question how legitimate this source is, but he does talk about in the article how he spoke to Scottie Barnes during the NBA Finals. So obviously, he's an NBA insider. There could be potentially something onto this. Maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. We don't know. And again, if Adrian Wojnarowski or Shams aren't reporting it, it's obviously you have to question the source. But this would be quite interesting if the Raptors did offer him. Now, I'm going to give my take on both whether or not I think the Raptors should include Scottie Barnes or shouldn't include it. So I want to give an unbiased take. I'm going to take both sides here. So first of all, when we talk about Scottie Barnes, the most important thing we have to talk about is if you're treating Scottie Barnes for Kevin Durant, you have to take into consideration that contract. He's making about $7.6 million next season. Kevin Durant is making nearly $40 million next season. So the salaries don't work. You would have to throw in someone else. And if you're throwing in someone, let's assume like OG Anunoby or Gary Trent Jr., they're making about $18-19 million next season. So that's still not enough. You'd still have to throw in quite a bit. That's nearly about $20 million. So how are the Raptors going to get that? That's going to be hard because their roster, the way it's constructed, it's paying the top two guys in Fred and Pascal Siakam a ton of money. And then outside of that, you have Gary and OG making about $18-19 million. And then there's a huge drop off of guys that are making $6 million, $4 or $5 million. So again, that trade, I don't know. Again, Raptors do not get financed in trades. Masai Ujiri is usually the one getting the best of other teams in trades. And the fact that, let's talk about this, because there's been a lot of talk about the Raptors fan base as well, talking about how they would rather have Scottie Barnes for 15 years than 4 years of Kevin Durant. Now, let's get this one thing straight, guys. When we talk about Scottie Barnes being here for 15 years, first of all, I'm going to go with this take here and why we should trade, or why we could potentially include Scottie Barnes. Talking about his contract, he's locked in for about 4 more seasons. He's got that qualifying offer, but obviously he's going to not take it and look for a bigger pay, and we could potentially sign him for another 4 or 5 years. So ultimately, you have Scottie Barnes for about 7-8 seasons, and there's no guarantees that he's going to stay with the Raptors the rest of his life. Now, I'm not saying this because I don't doubt that Scottie Barnes would want to stay with the Raptors, or that the Raptors would want to keep Scottie Barnes, but the NBA is so unpredictable these days. We don't know about NBA players and how they change their minds so quickly. Obviously, Scottie Barnes is a great player. He's obviously embraced the city of Toronto, so it's not one of those cases where he will just likely leave the Raptors because he wants to go closer to home or that he wants to play in his home country. I think Scottie Barnes loves Toronto. He loves Canada. That's quite obvious, but there's that assumption that he's going to stay with the Raptors for his entire career. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Again, we can make all sorts of assumptions. You don't know about NBA players and where they'd want to go, where they'd want to live. So again, you could always take that into consideration. But talking about the opposite side, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. You got Rookie of the Year, Scottie Barnes, who's got very high IQ. He's got superstar potential, if you ask me. And including him in a trade for Kevin Durant, obviously Kevin Durant's got injury issues. I love Kevin Durant. I would take him in a heartbeat, but not for Scottie Barnes. That's probably the one player from the Raptors roster I would not include in any trade. Pascal Siakam as well. But again, if you had to choose one untouchable, I'd probably see Scottie Barnes as that player. It just makes no sense. He's Rookie of the Year. He's got such high IQ. He embraced the Raptors organization so well. He loves the city. He's a team player who wants to be here. So again, it doesn't make sense for him to be included in that trade, not only because of the talent that he has, the potential he has, but also because given his salary as well. So you're going to have to throw in a lot more pieces than just Scottie Barnes. It's not a Pascal Siakam situation where you're making $30+ million. You can add in some fillers and a few first-round picks. So again, personally, I don't do that trade. But let's talk about the other news that the Raptors were in today. And shout out to Rap City, who are always so quick on Instagram to report this. And this was being reported by Jake L. Fisher, who's obviously been reporting a lot of NBA content for quite some time. And that is that the Raptors have had their eyes still fixed on Suns center Deandre Ayton. So this is quite interesting because obviously we know the Phoenix Suns are also on the list of potential teams that Kevin Durant could go to. Could the Raptors be involved in a potential three-way deal between the Phoenix Suns and the Brooklyn Nets? Maybe. But again, it's not going to be easy to acquire Deandre Ayton as well. When we talk about Deandre Ayton, he's a spectacular player who's still on the young side. I believe he's 23. He's averaged a double-double in his entire NBA career. He's benefited, obviously, with playing with Chris Paul, but he's also a really good player. He's got potential, but for whatever reason, the Phoenix Suns don't want to offer him the max money, and I don't think the Raptors should either. The Raptors may need a center, but I don't think it makes sense to offer Deandre Ayton, who doesn't shoot the threes, by the way. He's not a stretch big man. He's a good, smart defender, but he's not an elite rim protector, which the Raptors do need. So again, if they were to do a sign and trade with the Phoenix Suns, just 1-for-1, you would likely have to include one of Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby as well. So again, I love DeAndre Ayton, but personally, if you ask me, I'm not including any of those players. And we know the Phoenix Suns aren't doing a deal unless those two players are involved. And you can talk about Fred VanVleet being moved, but that obviously would not make sense. They have Chris Paul, they have Devin Booker. They're not trying to go with a midget lineup there with 6'4" guys. So again, I just don't see a deal happening there unless it's a 3-team deal. And maybe the Raptors get in on the Kevin Durant deal, but perhaps they're the ones receiving DeAndre Ayton and moving some other pieces around. But again, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to trade any of those guys for DeAndre Ayton. And I know people will mention that we have Christian Koloko, and I will say this, guys, over and over again. Christian Koloko is very raw. He's still probably a couple seasons away from being a very impactful player off of the bench for the Raptors. And big men usually, again, you could argue DeAndre Ayton being the one exception, big men usually take several years to develop in the NBA. So that's the argument I will make, but I do want to hear from you guys. What do you think of all these Kevin Durant Raptors rumors? And do you think the Raptors could potentially make a trade for DeAndre Ayton? Could they be involved in a 3-team deal which lands DeAndre Ayton to the Raptors? What would you give up for DeAndre Ayton? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, guys, I do have a trivia question for you today. And that trivia question is, which players, excuse my writing there, English wasn't my strongest course in school, but which player has the highest career 3-point percentage? So obviously, Steph Curry is up there. Is it A, Steph Curry? Is it B, Steve Kerr, his coach? Is it C, Ray Allen? Or is it D, Kyle Korver? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. I just want to thank you for the support you guys have been showing me the last week. I really do appreciate it. And if you guys want to like and subscribe, that'd be awesome as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.